Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 410 of the Stacey West podcast. Those numbers are ticking up. Chris, how are we doing?
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Yeah, 410 sounds like a lot. It's quite a few more than Mr. Scubala has had
Yes,
as well.
indeed.
We're going to touch on that, aren't we? I'm well, mate. Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you. Obviously, had a fantastic day out at Peterborough yesterday. How are you?
Indeed. Yeah, it was a very enjoyable day yesterday. Yeah, we caught up. Obviously, there was some traffic problems, which I think we both got held up in slightly. But yeah, no, it was an enjoyable day out. We ended the drought of 19 long years of not winning away at Peterborough.
Yeah, it's nice to get that hoodoo off our back a little bit, isn't it? Because I feel we've been primed to take a win from them at various points over the last few years. But I think in a lot of those other seasons, it would have been the plucky underdog nicking a win. Whereas we're now, I think we're on a far better trajectory than Peterborough United are. And we deservedly won yesterday, as we're going to talk about. But I think the fact we won so convincingly wasn't a surprise. And that's pleasing, because I don't think we've been able to say that very many times over the last 20 plus years, that whenever we have had a positive result against Posh, home or away, of course, it's not often that we've been expecting a comfortable win. So it was quite nice to get that yesterday. Yeah,
absolutely. So I mean, let's before we dive into yesterday, I mean, what have you been up to since Wednesday? We said on Wednesday that we've not really had a pod together for a while, and then here we are again.
Yeah, like London buses, mate. Yeah, again, I think I said this on Wednesday. I'd love to share some really interesting stories of interesting things that have happened in my life, but Thursday and Friday, not a lot happened, other than I had a very expensive day on Friday. I knew I needed a new tyre. I knew I was going to be driving to Peterborough on Saturday, so I thought let's just get on with it. I finished work at lunchtime on a Friday as well, because I had some toil to use. So I thought I'll be really sensible. Rather than doing anything fun, I'll go and get a new tyre. Went to the garage. Turns out I needed 4 new tyres.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah, so that was an expensive afternoon. And then because I'd spent a load of money already, I thought, well, sod it. What's another 60 quid going to be? So I bought the new EAFC, and I didn't like it. It's rubbish. I got sucked in by the whole new authentic game mode that the marketing worked on me, because I haven't really played that game properly for years and years and years. Always flirt with it every year. And I've done exactly the same this year. Bought it again, and it's shit, Ben. I think it's rubbish. Don't like it at all. So yeah, that was my Friday. You been up to much in the last couple of days?
To be honest with you, no. If we're going to talk about games briefly, I bought a game that I'd seen a lot about called Baby Steps. Which is a game where you control a man who's forgotten how to walk, and instead of just pushing forward on the stick to move your character, you have to press the trigger buttons to move his legs, and then you basically hold the trigger and you move the stick, and then that moves his leg in that direction.
Yeah, I saw that advertised on. I couldn't tell you. I had no idea what YouTube video it was, but it looked funny.
It's funny. It's also very infuriating. Yeah, no, it's that was fun. But yeah, I fully agree with you on EAFC. What I tend to do, because I have an Xbox as well as a PlayStation, I tend to wait, because it comes to Game Pass like 6 months after launch, or 6 to 9 months after launch. So I'll just wait for everybody to moan and bitch about it, and then they'll patch it, and then it'll be like, oh, people are still moaning about it. So at some point it'll be like, oh, it's free on Game Pass. I'll just download that. And
yeah, I think I got it on offer last year. It was definitely cheaper last year. You know what's strange? And I said this to Joe when we was driving on the way to Peterborough, and I was telling him about my Friday. I said, if I didn't have to pay for those tyres, I don't think I'd have bought the video game. I bought the video game because I thought, well, I kind of wanted it, and I've already spent loads of money today anyway. What's an extra 60 quid? Which is stupid because I'd much prefer to have that 60 quid in my pocket now. Thank you very much. Yeah, annoying. In terms of video games, though, I haven't played many video games for ages. I kind of got out of the habit a little bit. I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2 again, and I'm loving it. Football Manager comes out soon. It looks really good. Obviously, mentioned FIFA. I like the look of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. GTA 6 isn't far away. The new Battlefield is out soon. It's all happening all at once.
Yeah, we've got Ghost of Yote this week as well on the PlayStation, so that's going to be a good one. So, but yeah, no, it's just been a week of getting back to normalcy, I think, for me, because work has finally calmed down a little bit. So I've had a relatively stress-free week compared to the rest of it, and that was, of course, helped by the fact that we obliterated Peterborough United yesterday on their home patch. Chris, it was a wonderful day. It was bright, it was sunny, it was warm. I think you might have got too warm at some point. I know Emily got too warm at some stages, but we were sat on the very front row, and we got a lot of light breezes as well. So the only thing that I was disappointed by is the fact that before I went on holiday, I bought a pair of prescription sunglasses. I thought, sensible. I'm going to be sensible on holiday, and I'll be able to see when I'm in the sun. We had to wait for them to arrive before we left because they were out for delivery on the day we were leaving. And we're like, it's all right, I'll just get some at the airport. And then, they're out for delivery today, and they're here due before 5 o'clock. So, fine, all right, we'll wait. They arrived. We left immediately afterwards. We went down to Rachel's mum and dad's. I then left them at Rachel's mum and dad's when we went on holiday. And then yesterday, when I was sat on the front row at Peterborough and with direct sunlight in my eyes for the whole 90 minutes, I didn't take them with me yesterday either. So far, the 2 times that I've actually needed them, I've not taken them with me, but there we go. But that aside, it was a very enjoyable afternoon yesterday, wasn't it?
Oh, very much so. Yeah. Very happy man leaving that football ground. Very happy man indeed. And the whole drive home, and slept well last night off the back of it. Got up, watched the highlights multiple times. Just, it's nice, isn't it? It's really nice. Suppose we ought to start talking about what happened before the match, though, in regards to lineup. Yeah,
I was going to say, let's talk about the lineup, because it was, in the league, it was unchanged. Obviously, there were some substantial changes from Tuesday night. But yeah, did it really surprise you with no real changes from a winning team against Luton?
No, it didn't surprise me. I don't think Michael particularly follows the rule of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and you don't change your winning team. I think it depends on the opposition quite a lot of the times. But we were so convincing against Luton. Peterborough played a similar formation to Luton, so as much as the styles is slightly different, in terms of the spacings on the pitch, it's quite similar. So it made sense for us to stick to shape. It made sense for us to stick to lineup, and also to give some of those lads who played well on Tuesday night a little bit of a rest for their legs. Because I think there was a little bit of surprise that Tom Hamer didn't keep his place in the team with Jacko facing a late fitness test. But I also feel that he put a hell of a shift in on Tuesday. He probably won't thank me for saying this either, but he's so dependable at centre-back or at right-back. So if you have him on the bench, you've got cover in 2 areas, haven't you? Whereas if you start him, you've got to have a centre-back and a right-back on the bench to then have the same cover that he provides you. So that allows you to have an extra forward on the bench. That's maybe, I don't know how much of that goes into Michael Skubala's thoughts. But Jacko coming in was probably the only question mark, just because of his fitness and missing out the squad altogether on Tuesday. But yeah, the rest of it, I don't think there were any surprises, were there?
No, I don't think so. The bench, I think the only major one for me, probably with Eric Ring not being on the bench. I know we've obviously got a bit of a vested interest in Eric this season, being his sponsors, but I don't know. I was sat there thinking, is he? Okay, well, if he's not making the bench. But it is the exact same thing. I mean, we spoke about it on Wednesday and said that, before the fans forum caught Michael Skubala, and he was saying, I don't know who to leave out at the minute because everybody's playing well and we've got such a strong squad, and it's a headache that I'm glad I don't have, but he has at the moment. And yeah, but I mean, let's move into the game, because I thought we started quite brightly. I thought we started really well, doing what we do best, pressing really well, trying to win the ball back up high, and just really not feeling any pressure from Peterborough in that first sort of 10 minutes or so. I mean, the intent was shown pretty early on with a pretty stinging shot from Tom Bayliss that admittedly was basically down the keeper's throat, but it showed the intent that we had there, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It was a nice move to create that opportunity for Tom, because up until that point, we kind of huffed and puffed. We've been really aggressive. We've been pretty direct at times. In a good way, it's not just hoofball, is it? It is very, very much focused and played for and rehearsed. But we've been I suppose vertical, might be the way of putting it, getting up the pitch pretty quickly, and we weren't really letting Peterborough come at us too much. However, they didn't seem to have too much desire to do that themselves at pace. They did have a very, very slow build-up from deep, which is something that Peterborough have done, obviously, for a long time. I was surprised by it, though, because looking at their last two results, of course, and also the numbers that backed up those last two results, plus watching the highlights. Obviously, haven't seen the full 90 minutes of those games, but had watched the highlights and looked at the numbers. It looked like they'd gone a bit more kind of, I wouldn't say direct, but high tempo. They've been getting the ball forward quicker than before, taking fewer risks. But to be honest, yesterday it was same old Peterborough in terms of style. Formation was changed. They were playing 3-5-2, but style was very much played into our hands, really, because it allowed us to press them, and we did that really well in that first 10-15 minutes. As you say, a good opportunity and a shot on target early doors by Tom Bayliss. I'm not sure there were many other talking points of note, though, until Rob Street was bundled over about 25 yards out.
No, I don't think there were, because it felt like it was one of those games, that I think we were sounding them out and they were trying to find a way forward. Admittedly, like you say, it seems like Peterborough's way forward at the moment is a little bit laboured, going across the back and then trying to probe and find those openings. But we were doing what we were doing really well, and trying to prevent those. We will come on to our picks for man of the match, but mine was Ben House, and I thought he was pressing superbly yesterday. He won. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think he won more or less everything. He looked superb all game yesterday. But as you're saying, you are correct. Rob Street gets bundled over about 25, just over 25 yards out. And as soon as he went over, I turned to Rach and I said, Adam Reach has got this.
Did you?
Reach, yeah, I said, Adam Reach, screamer, top bins. And she looked at me and she went, what do you reckon? I said, just watch. And sure enough, Adam Reach, who hasn't scored in the EFL for 3 years, steps up and scores a phenomenal free kick. I mean, it's a good free kick when the keeper gets his hand to it and it still goes in.
Oh, it was brilliant. Yeah, it was brilliant. Myself and Joe, we're not as convinced it was even going to be an effort on goal. Maybe the angle that we were set at, maybe it looked like it was further away than it was. We were bracing ourselves for a cross, and he didn't cross it, did he? It went straight in. It was a brilliant free kick, and I saw someone shared a video on one of my group chats. I think it was just from a stand behind the goal. It might have been probably not far off where you were sat, because the angle was very different to what you saw on TV.
I was going to bring this up actually, because it was the person that took the video was literally like a few rows behind me and to the left a little bit. But you could see from where we were, when he hits the ball, the angle it goes off at, you think, oh, that's going well wide. And then it just whips in. And you don't get, like you say, you don't see that on TV. You might see it in the other angle, because they had the camera in our stand. But the amount of just bend on that ball was ridiculous. Like it wasn't quite on the level of like Roberto Carlos with the outside of his boot, but it was a really, really good finish. And just the amount of movement on the ball, unbelievable. Like it reminded me of was it Neil Eardley away at Mansfield few years
God,
back.
no, you're testing me now. I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, I think it was away at Mansfield, and it was top, literally postage stamp stuff from Erdley. I mean, obviously it went a little bit further down from for Adam Reach, but yeah, I mean, when we signed him, I think a lot of Wednesday supporters said, "Oh, you know, he scored some bangers for them," and I think somebody in our Discord actually even put a photo up of a mug that they'd been given or they gave to a Wednesday fan that said Adam Reach Screamer Appreciation Society or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, I was delighted for him. Obviously, like I say, he was, you know, first goal in the EFL in 3 years. He was playing in he was training with the PFA over the close season, and he came to us as a free agent. I don't think it's any secret that he wouldn't have been our first choice target for a left back in the window. I think we all know where the eye was set for that one. But he's not set a foot wrong since he's come in, has he?
No, hardly put a foot wrong at all. He's established himself there, really, because I think it was against Luton I predicted that Towler would start, and the reason I gave was I thought relatively sensible, but he didn't, of course. Adam Reach did, and he looks undroppable now. He looks just so calm, doesn't he? So calm, right place at the right time, makes the right decision more often than not. Yeah, just another experienced head that leads by example. But just quickly on his free kick, because even on the behind the goal camera angle on the highlights, I don't think it had the same. You can't appreciate the bend on it as you can from the clip that we saw, because he starts it well outside the post, doesn't he? And then it kind of bends in. And also Alex Bass, something Bass, Peterborough's goalkeeper, just takes half a step to his left before he comes back to the right as Reach takes it. And it was a great moment. It was a brilliant moment, and I wouldn't say it was kind of all we deserved. Like maybe when we went 1-0 up against Chelsea, we hadn't had that many clear-cut opportunities yet up until that point. But we had been the stronger side in that first 15 minutes. But once again, we scored the first goal in League One. That's the 8th time in 10 games we scored the first goal. Most of those been in the opening 15 minutes. It's not a bad habit, that, is it?
No, and you've got some numbers for me, which you told me just before we started recording. I'd like everybody to hear those numbers because they make for good listening, Chris.
Yeah, so this surprised me actually that it was quite to this extent, and I don't expect it to continue to quite this level. Now, we've of course played 10 matches so far this season, so this is all worked out per 90. So we're assuming each match is 90 minutes in length, albeit most of them go on much longer than that. So that's 900 minutes. Out of that, the total 900 minutes that we've all watched as Lincoln City fans so far this season, we have watched Lincoln City being ahead in the game for 68% of the time out of that 900 minutes. Bearing in mind, every game starts 0-0 as well. That's a ridiculously high number. Second is Stockport at 49%, and third is Bradford at 43%. So we are smashing it. Now, again, don't expect that to stay quite to those levels for the whole season. But if that trend of scoring early and scoring first continues, which it doesn't show any sign of not doing, then it's an incredibly positive metric and statistic to have.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's nice, isn't it? But I know there was a discussion over the summer with the women's Euros where they were saying, "Oh, but England only led for 5 minutes in the entire tournament," or something stupid like that. But it's nice to be on the other end of that stat, because I think in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, if we go ahead, I don't really feel too concerned about conceding all that much, and that kind of bore out a little bit in this game because even though we did the thing, well, I say we did the thing, Peterborough did come back into the game for a short while. I don't think they necessarily had a huge amount of threat behind them, but they did come back into the game for a bit, I mean, they did hit the post. I think it was really their only major effort of the first half. There was one where a cross came in and I think it got headed into the ground and then bounced up and over. But overall, I don't really think anyone could have complained that we went in 1-0 up at the break.
After we went 1-0 up, I think obviously after that, I think Posh had a hell of a lot more of the ball, a little bit more territory than we did. We didn't have a huge amount, I would say, going forward before that. We only had one other shot in the half after the point we went 1-0 up. I can't remember what it was actually, but we had one apparently. Posh had 6 shots in the first half, didn't hit the target on any of them, and only one of them would be classed as a big chance, which was Jimmy J. Morgan's. I'm going to be fair-ish to Posh here and say they would probably feel a bit unlucky to be behind at half-time on the balance of the whole half. But one thing which is, I suppose it skews the whole of all stats is the fact we have been ahead for so much this season. We want game state changes how teams play, doesn't it? If you've got a goal to protect, then you protect it. And obviously they were unlucky because they carved us open a couple of times. Not long after we scored, Jimmy J. Morgan hit the post. That was a good effort. Probably one of the few times in the game we were just a little bit passive, I'd say, for a few minutes. And then, header that went just wide. I wouldn't say that was a particularly clear chance. I think from the back, the view that we had from behind the goal, it probably looks like a bigger chance because we just see him heading it over from 4 or 5 yards out. But the ball comes to him, it just dips over the two players ahead of him. Yeah, so I wouldn't say you could kind of think, we've got away with one there. The Jimmy J. Morgan one, yes, because it was a half decent chance. But again, I think it's just interesting in that I still felt we had them at arm's length. I was looking forward to half time because I thought we just need to reset here. We're not under the cosh, we're not getting peppered, but we weren't quite as dominant as we had been before. And normally we're really good at controlling the game even when we haven't got the ball. And I thought we did that on the whole okay, but not quite as well as I would hope us to for part of that first half. But just interesting. But Peterborough had 237 successful passes in the first half, but only 80 of them were actually in our half. Now we had 169 successful passes, so obviously quite a lot fewer than Peterborough, but 83 were in Peterborough's half. So we actually had more passes that were successful in Peterborough's half than they did ours, despite the possession stats looking hugely in their favour. So that goes to show that, despite them having a lot of the ball, we probably did keep them at arm's length. It was maybe just those two chances that stick in the mind that maybe think they had more of the first half than they really did.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, from where I was sat, like I say, I didn't feel like we were under too much pressure. Although, I think I'm with you in saying I was welcome of half time. Because I just thought, okay, it gives us a little bit of time to reset and we can go again, as they say. Just on the on the amount of time that we've led for stat, Ollie makes a fantastic point in the chat here. He says Bolton game massively skews that stat. I mean, that's what, if you're talking about per 90, that's 89. So that's 10%. Isn't it? That's 10%.
So let's say though, as a counter argument to that, because that's 10% of our 10 games. So we were at 68% that we've been ahead. And the next best team was at 49%. Let's imagine we were 1-0 down since the first minute in that game.
Yeah, okay.
We're still at 58%, and that's still 9% higher than everyone else. So it's a very good point, though. I'm not here to knock you back there, Ollie. It's a really, really good point. Of course, it skews it a little bit, but let's not celebrate when things are going well, hey?
Absolutely. So, I mean, look, halftime comes along. And did you think there was much doubt that we were going to come away from the ground with something?
Oh, yeah, I was 100% sure we were not going to lose the game.
Absolutely. I mean, like I say, the shot off the post, it almost reminded me a little bit of Monsmers on Tuesday night. As Richard says in the comments, another day that goes in. It hits the post and it goes in. We actually saw something very similar in the second half, but we will come to that shortly. Mr. Spooky says, Statman Chris, I believe 4 of the current top 6 have the 4 fewest average possession.
Yes, fun that, isn't it? Really fun. I think there's a caveat to that, and this is something I'm going to try and dig a little bit this week, is what are a lot of our metrics, including possession, up until the point that we go 1-0 up. So at 0-0, what do the stats look like in terms of possession and touches in the box and all that good stuff? Because I imagine that'll look quite different, probably for all of those teams. If you're scoring the first goal, you're less likely to need to possess the ball. Some teams still choose to, but of course we're very happy to let the opposition have it. It is quite funny though that we have on the numbers got such a low possession compared to even the other teams that have got low possession, if that makes sense. I think we're the only team in the 30s. But again, there's a huge caveat that we're winning. We're ahead for 2/3 of the whole time that we've been playing football this season. So yeah, you can have the ball, lads. Try and break us down. So, yeah. But it's a really interesting point. And also, I think there's something called pitch tilt, which is interesting, which is what we just mentioned there in terms of Peterborough. So yeah, okay, opposition teams have had a lot of the ball. How much have they had it in our half, and how much have we had it in their half? And those numbers, albeit the opposition do shade that over the season so far, we are looking pretty good in comparison to that. It's not quite as low as the overall possession stat stands out, but it's certainly interesting, and maybe it goes to show something in regards to the kind of bit of flux that football tactics are in at the moment. I feel like we're in a bit of a transitional period away from maybe that everyone trying to copy Pep Guardiola to maybe playing slightly less like that now. You've kind of got a bit of both now in most leagues, so it's very interesting, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, it opens everything up, doesn't it? If everybody tries to play the same thing, it's okay. Well, not everybody can do that. So the fact that we are, doing quite well while trying something different is just nice. And I think that at halftime, I'm just sat there going, everything this week so far has just felt almost like the perfect week for the football club. We've had a good win at home against Luton. We've then had a display in the Carabao where all of the write-ups didn't pitch us as little old brave Lincoln. It was, oh no, they're actually decent. They did really well regardless of everything else that's been going on. And then we break a 19-year streak at London Road. I mean, could you have written that any better other than possibly taking Chelsea to penalties?
Yeah, no, you couldn't at all. I think on the pitch, it's been pretty much the perfect week, because the results are relevant against Chelsea. As silly as that sounds, it was all about the performance, and it's all about painting our club in a positive light on a big occasion. And we mentioned this on Wednesday. We were all just so proud of the football club on Tuesday night. So yeah, okay, would penalties have iced the cake maybe, but who cares? It's just been a great 8 days as a Lincoln City fan. Oh, excuse me.
Ooh, there you go. So that took us to half time. I mean, do we want to briefly start the second half before we go to a break, or do we want to go to a break now and then have a little extended second half?
Let's have a break now, shall we? Okie
dokie. We will have a very quick advertising break for those of you that are listening at home, and for those of you that are watching live. There's so many comments. So we'll pause it for the audio listeners, and then if you're watching on YouTube, we'll say hello and break. Cool.
Hello everybody on YouTube. Thank you.
Hello. Right. So yeah, let's go through the comments. Flossie was on their own for a while. We had, I think, 7 comments. From, admittedly, this was starting at 6:17, perfectly enough. So yeah, at 6:17. So about a full 43 minutes before we went live. Ollie is in, says evening all. Steve is in, of course, is in. Stacey West Ultra Leader. Andy Brown's in, says evening all from a happy Plymouth. Claire's in, says I remember Morecambe Mindy. Oh yeah, so that was in response to a comment from Flossie. Where else are we? Ollie says Stacey West Ultras unite. Absolutely. David Ward, evening lads, great result yesterday. Could have been a backlash from Tuesday, but showed strength in character. Strong squad as well. If injuries hit, dare we think? Something that I do want to touch on after we've talked about Peterborough, because the title that I gave this one was the 10-game rule, or Peterborough and the 10-game rule. So we'll talk briefly about the 10-game rule, I think, on that one. Let's have a look. Mick Kennedy says, in bed waiting for it to start. Awesome result yesterday. I got to watch Lincoln City live at my friend Mark's apartment in Metro Manila in the Philippines. Good luck up the imps, Mick. Thank you very much, Mick. Much appreciated. Dave Tuplin's on board. He says, evening to you all. Up the imps. Ian says, evening all. What a great atmosphere for my fans yesterday. Completely outsang the Peterborough fans. I especially love the "Is this the library?" chant. Yeah, phenomenal.
Multiple times.
Yeah, phenomenal atmosphere yesterday. I don't recall hearing them at all, to be honest, apart from the booze.
Yeah, just going to say exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Richardson says, evening, gentlemen. I feel joy mixed with sadness. We will touch on that a little bit later on. But Harry's in says, hi all. Ian's in says, evening, Ben and Chris. Roy's in says, evening, gents. Sue is in, says, fantastic game from the team and fans yesterday. Amazing at Posh, 100%. Malcolm's in, says, hi to all. Gaz is in, says, evening, Ben and Chris. Great win for the Imps at Posh after 19 years. John Booth says, evening, all. Red Wimp is in, says, evening, lads. Leslie's in, says, evening, kids.
Oh, I'm included now, mate. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Podcast mum. I'm sorry,
it was kids, sir. It wasn't just you. I'm taking that as a win.
I know.
Thanks, Leslie.
Emily in. I'm sure she'll absolutely love that. There we go. Keith's in says, evening, lads. Hope you're well. You were doing okay. Kev Barwise says, not in our lifetime. Now it's every time. Fergie out. Seriously, that was a special day performance yesterday from the Imps with support to match. Sam's in. Great result. 19 years in the making. You Imps, 100%. Keith says, I want to see Tendai's birth certificate. I don't believe he's old as I don't believe he's as old as they say he is with the ground he covers. He's a specimen, isn't he? Yeah. David Larders says, evening all, thinking of you all at Stacey West. Thank you very much, mate. It's appreciated. Tony Fields is in, says, an Imp fan in Peterborough. It was an enjoyable ride home on the bus. I can imagine. Can imagine. Gerard's in, says, brilliant result, great team effort. Hello from Darcy's Tavern, the home of Red Imp supporters, North America, Badley Beach, New Jersey. Another great show, fellas. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Jacob's in as ever, says, good evening, guys, up the Imps. Harry is in. Who else have we got? Paul's in, says, good evening, guys. Somehow football doesn't seem quite so important today, does it? No, we will touch on that shortly. Who else have we got in? We have got Mull Wall is in. Incredible week, just keeps getting better. And Kath and Impey are here. Oh, Kath and Impey, not Cara and Impey. Kath and Impey. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, there we go. Thank you. Yeah, it as we say every week, it's massively appreciated that we currently have nearly 90 people watching us talk about football. It's quite humbling, but yeah, no, it's all good fun. I had a number of people say yesterday, actually, when I was, we were coming out of the ground, a few people tapped me on the shoulder, said, oh, who's your man of the match and everything. I was like, oh, people watch our stuff. It's nice.
Yeah, I would always say it every week, but we'll never get used to it.
No.
I'll never get used to it.
Rach is also here. I'm here. Hi, Chris. Thanks, Rach. Appreciate it. Phil is also here, says, embarrassing to be beaten by a team like Lincoln. I'll leave that one with you. I think we might pick up on that. Yeah. We might pick up on that after the game. So, right. If we're ready, we'll come back in.
We're ready.
In 3, 2, 1. There we go. That is an advert for something. We've said hello to all the folks that are currently watching live. It's very much appreciated. So, right, let's get into the second half, Chris, because, yeah, Posh came out not quite swinging, but they were attempting to. I thought for the first, 5, maybe 10 minutes of the second half, I thought, oh, okay, we might have a bit of a fight on our hands here to keep this lead. Didn't necessarily cause too many problems, but there was definitely something about them, and I thought, oh, I don't know how we're gonna combat this one. So, yeah, your thoughts on that first sort of 10 minutes before the big switch up?
Yeah, they certainly showed a bit of impetus, didn't they? The ball was definitely in our kind of half and our third for longer periods, albeit obviously it's just a short period of the game. But when the second half kicked off, I didn't feel like the ball was down our end very much in the away end for that first 5 minutes. I thought, oh, okay, we're in for an interesting second half here. If they do score an early goal, then maybe we're in for a bit of a fight. I didn't think we'd lose the game. You mentioned that before the break, but yeah, it would certainly make an interesting second half. And then 5 or 6 minutes into that half, Jacko takes one square in the chops, and not good for Jacko. Obviously, he is the sort of player we've come accustomed to, just putting his body on the line, throwing his head where it hurts. It kind of helped, though, in a weird twist of fate, because and Michael mentioned after the game in his post-match press conference that he was considering changing shape anyway, but it gave him an opportunity with a little bit of a break in play, and after how Peterborough came out in the start of the second half to make a bit of a tactical shift. I thought it was an absolute masterclass, by the way, by Michael tactically yesterday. Just quickly on Posh, because they played 3-5-2, but they both their, particularly when they're in their deep build-up, their two strikers were so wide. They were like really splitting very, very wide, along with both their wing backs. Even when the ball was on the opposite side of the pitch, they kept two on the far side. And it meant our centre-backs were really, really split very wide, and there's a big gap down the middle at times. Now, luckily, Posh didn't really exploit it too often, but you could see as the game was going on, it meant lots of players had to move around in different positions and jump into different areas. So it made really logical sense just to not match them up directly, but just to plug that gap, basically, by having an extra centre-back in there, not allowing the wing-backs to always be a spare man, because we then had our own version of that. And from the point that both Tom Hamer and Rolly Towler came on, I thought we were totally and utterly dominant from that moment on.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I think I could see, because when Jacko went down, I could see that there was a bit of frustration, a lot of frustration from the home fans. Initially, I kind of thought, have we done a Paul Farman here? And then it became quite apparent quite quickly that, oh no, this isn't. He's properly caught one. What surprised me a little bit actually was how long the officials took to get the subs on.
Yeah, I can understand why the Posh fans were getting a bit irate at the fact that Jacko had already gone off, and it was taking a while for Hamer and Towler to come on. Obviously, it played into our hands. Don't really know what happened there. There were a frustrated set of fans anyway at this point, not just at this point in the game, but this point in the season, off the back of how they've started. Probably not a huge amount of patience shown by Posh fans towards their team at the start of this season. So you can understand why they got a bit frustrated. Not really sure why, but it helped. And but yeah, once they both came on, they both slotted in seamlessly. And yeah, Posh didn't really have a kick of any description in our third, other than one chance after we scored our second, but we haven't got to that bit yet.
No, absolutely. So let's come on to the second, because yeah, sure enough, 5 minutes after the change is made, we got the second. I'm just going to go back through our group chat so I can read this one verbatim. Is it verbatim or verbatim? I can never remember.
I don't know what that word is.
Okay, basically, I will read this. I will read this as it came into the chat. So, where are we? 16:11. So this was basically as the substitutions were made. Towler for Draper. Chris thoughts. And I said interesting change. 5 at the back. Push Reach on, said Emily, and then I said Tendai and Reach pushing forward. I thought, yeah, sure enough. 5 minutes later, Tendai and Reach pushing forward. Reach with the cross into Tendai, who just absolutely the step off his man to receive the ball was a thing of beauty. When you watch it back, he doesn't aim to get on the end of the cross in the way that most people would probably expect. You'd expect him to just go in and then bang, header in, jobs are good. And apparently it's verbatim with emphasis on the second syllable. So yes, verbatim, there we go. Instead of him rising up to meet that with his head, stepping back off the man, taking it on his foot, finding all of a sudden he's got 2 or 3 yards of space all around him, and then smashes it against the post into the back of the net. cue 1,800 Lincoln City fans going absolutely ballistic. Like, what a goal that was, and the absolute vindication of Michael Skubala to change it when he did, leading to that. It was just, as you said, it was just a masterclass.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really pleased you mentioned Tariq was step away from his man, because he was quite central, wasn't he, as the cross was about to come in, and then just took a step away, floated away on the blind side of the defender, and as you mentioned, was able to take it down. Great strike, great finish. Pandemonium in the stands, because I think we all felt, yeah, we've won now, didn't we? At that point, we've got a lot of confidence in this team to keep other teams at bay. You don't give this Lincoln City team a 2-0 lead very often and not come away with a loss as an opponent. So yeah, at that point I thought, that's it. That's game, set, and match with half an hour left. But that's how it felt. That's exactly how it felt. And I'm really bad at responding to messages in our group chat when the game's going on. I'm normally so engrossed in the game, and then I don't always recognise those messages. And then I remember I read those messages as the goal went in, and I had a bit typed out as because Emily said, "What do you think in terms of the subs?" I had a huge, not a huge, maybe 3 or 4 sentences typed out, thinking, "Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for X, Y, and Z reason." And then Tariq was scored. I thought, well, that kind of just answers it, doesn't it? Really?
Says it all. Yeah,
that says it all. So delete the rest of the message and say, "Yay, 2-0. That's why." Next.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like we know full well what Tendai can do going forward. We've seen it last season. You know, we were kind of in that, not necessarily the sticky patch, but we were playing a certain way for quite a while last season, and Tendai was getting forward as a right wing back. And then when we made that shift to having 4 at the back, and he was just kind of a more traditional right back, you saw he's still got the qualities there to do what he needs to do. But I think the fact is, when we need to make that switch, we can rely on him to do that. And I think with Adam Reach yesterday, he may not have probably quite the same level of pace as Dariqua, but the accuracy and the deliveries that he can put in, it's frightening. It is absolutely frightening. And yeah, just the fact that the 2 that were now allowed to get forward combined to make that goal, it was just, you couldn't have written that any better. Just phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, it was great, and great point on Reach. I think he's been a solid signing at left back, but he is that more forward thinking of a left back compared to Tyler, who started the season playing at left back in a 4. Mm-hmm. So it makes total sense that if you're going to change to a back 5, it's not really a back 5, is it? When you've got Tariq and Reach, it is a back 3 for the majority of the time, because they're both going to have the license and have the experience to know when to get forward and when not to. So yeah, I think what's great is that we are probably quite unpredictable now to play against tactically, as well as having the flexibility from our perspective of how good that is to be able to not have to play the same formation every week, not have to play the same system, because we press differently every game. Different players have slightly different roles every game. So yeah, it might look like a 4-2-3-1 on paper, or a 3-5-2 on paper, or whatever hell it might be. We played a 5 diamond 1 against Chelsea. We played a 3-4-3 against Bolton. You know, we're really flexible. And it's a real threat. And I think just physically, in terms of our intensity, our physicality, we're horrible to play against, which is a pleasure to watch. And also tactically, we must be just really difficult to play against as well and predict, because like how do you play against it when you don't know what the opposition's going to do? So yeah, it was a brilliant moment, and yeah, I felt like we'd go on to win the game comfortably from there. But Posh did actually have quite a big chance, didn't they? Just a minute or 2 after that.
Yeah, so the ball came down. I can't remember who it was that flashed the shot wide, but to add to their grand total of 0 shots on target, they had a ball across, and then there was another shot that was not on target. I think if that does go in, or if that is on target, it goes in. I think that's probably fair to say, because I think Wickens was well beaten. But that was their only moment of the second half. I don't think they had anything really, past that 54 minutes when Tyler and Hamer came on. I don't think they had anything. And it just sort of went to show that we were able to bring on, and Chris actually made the point in the comments, forget the 11 that started against Peterborough, look at the quality that didn't, and the ones that didn't even make the bench. Unbelievable squad depth.
Yeah.
you look at the people that we brought on yesterday. So Justin Abikwu on loan from Coventry, Rico Hackett, ever present, more or less ever present last season, injuries aside, and then even Varfolomiev, our record signing. That's the kind of quality that we're currently able to bring off the bench.
Yeah. Plus Hamer and Towler, who are
more
than good enough to be starters. Well, they all are, aren't they?
Yeah, and to me that just summed up the place that we're in. Like back in January. Back towards the end of the summer window, we're all sat there going, "We're looking a bit thin. We're looking a bit thin," and then all of a sudden, we've signed 4 players on deadline day, and I think the surprise one on deadline day, let's be honest, was Justin Abikwu. When it was announced, when we got the news, they thought, "Oh, that's nice. It's a striker to bump up the numbers a little bit." But no, he's not here to bump up the numbers. He's here to force a way into this side because he's. Let's just talk about him for a second because he looks really, really good.
Yeah, he's quite good at football, that lad, isn't he? Yeah. Another player though that's got a real strong physical profile. There's a lot of players in this team that have got the physicality to play higher. I wouldn't say that this squad always has the technical ability to outplay our opponents. We've not got bad footballers in our team by any means, but I think it's our physicality that really does set us aside. We've got, I would say, 2/3 of our squad has probably got championship physicality, and that's clearly by design. In terms of the recruitment, we joke that we're the land of the giants now, don't we? But there's a reason that we're signing players that have got physical strength, players that have got pace, because it's horrible to play against, and it's threatening. It's threatening, and you can't teach that, can you? You can't teach being strong and being fast. That's just you are or you're not. You can train for it, of course, but part of it is genetics and just it's not coaching that really. So. Yeah, he's good. He's good, and he's been a real threat off the bench and has come in. Clearly likes to run in behind, which I love. I love strikers that like to stretch opposition defenses, particularly when Posh are chasing the game and there is space to run into. When he's definitely going to be physically stronger than all 3 of their centre backs as well, which is quite funny. He rolled them a couple of times. He got in behind a couple of times. Very, very soft shout for a penalty, but still got into a position where he got a penalty shout. Obviously got his goal as well. So a good cameo. Well, it wasn't really a cameo, but a good 25, 30 minutes or so for a big crew.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's talk about, I suppose we can talk about the goal or the bits leading up to it, because honestly, from that point, I just thought we just looked really, really solid. We say that we didn't really have too much of a threat against us, but I mean, we could have had 4 or 5. We could have had 4 or 5. We'll talk about the third, because I don't really think we probably had too many chances before that before the third goal. But after the third goal, I think Peterborough folded, and then at that point we just started to pepper them, really, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We could have scored 3 goals in the last 10 minutes, really, but as much as we didn't have a huge number of clear-cut chances, I think we were dominant with and without the ball. We had quite a lot of territory. We kept the ball quite well, I think, in front of their 18-yard box for spells after our second goal, and it was that one of those spells that led to the throw-in, I seem to remember. And then, because you see the highlights, you see a long throw go in, you see a defensive mix-up hilariously again, and Abikwu nodding it in. But I don't think that's a fair reflection of the football that led to the throw-in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No. But again, yeah, it's a real threat, isn't it, to have someone of Tom Hamer's ability to lob a ball in the box. He's a very, very good footballer away from that, but it's a nice bonus to have, isn't it, to have his long throw.
Yeah, 100%.
Teams are terrified of it. Posh have now conceded the most set-piece goals in the league, which is always fun. We scored 2 set-piece goals again on Saturday. We're back to form, but probably not the 2 set-piece goals that we were expecting to score. If you'd said at kickoff we're going to score 2 goals on set pieces today, you probably wouldn't have expected those 2, would you?
No, we didn't have a single corner yesterday.
I know. That's mad, isn't it?
That's crazy. I think I think the pressure that we were building, I think it probably would have ended at least 3-0. regardless of whether Ibikwe scored or not.
Agreed.
Yesterday,
Though,
I think
I would have preferred it to be 2-0 because I predicted a 2-0 win, and that would have done me wonders in our little league table that we're doing on the Patreon. Because I'm of all 5 of us at the Stacey West, I am bottom at the moment on that prediction table. So I'd quite like to get a correct score line at some point as well.
Yeah, well, there was a small part of me, very small part of me, that hoped that shot was on target because I predicted 2-1. But yeah, Emily's now not top, so there's that, which is which we can take her down a peg.
Yeah, every cloud.
But yeah, I mean, look, Ibikwe's goal, probably the easiest goal he's going to score in his career. There were 2 things yesterday that made me question. It made me question XG a little bit more. So yesterday, Peterborough had an XG of 1.1, and we had an XG of 1.15. Apparently, I mean, surely Ibikwe's goal had an XG of yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you would have probably thought so. Let me just see actually really quickly. If you 0.84.
Okay, so bloody hell. So we had 0.35.
It's quite funny because there's XG, right, which is if a shot from there at all, what the chance of it going in. This is by FOTMob's relatively rudimentary XG, but it's a good guide. But there's also have a metric called XG on target, which is from that position. If it goes on target, what's the likelihood of it going in? And it was 0.99.
Okay,
so it was basically yes.
Yeah.
But that would also indicate that apart from that, we only had like 0.2 XG before that in the rest of the game, which is obviously not particularly accurate representation.
I mean, fair play, Adam Reach's free kick. You don't really expect to score from that normally, but no. Yeah, I think it was great. Like I just think following that, it kind of felt like we would get at least one more. And I do want to talk briefly about Ivan Varfolomeev because we were questioning how long it would take him to settle. About 10 minutes seems to be the answer.
Yeah, 10 minutes at the start of that Burton game where he didn't touch the ball.
Yeah.
and then since then, it's been great.
Because, Jesus Christ, we've got a player on our hands, Chris.
Yeah.
He was outstanding yesterday when he came on again. Just some really lovely touches. His work rate was phenomenal. I think he's not afraid of a challenge as well, which is, that came to light in the Burton game. I think the first touch that he made was a challenge in the box that nobody would normally make. But yeah, he's just looking fantastic. And he had another shot which kind of made me think about Bayless's in the first half as well. Took a touch on the half volley, stung the keeper's gloves. Yeah, it was another. I mean, that was more of a cameo than Ibikwe yesterday, but I think another decent cameo from Ivan.
Yeah, very much so. He was outstanding on Tuesday for 70 minutes against Chelsea in his first. It's not a league start, obviously, because it was a Carabao Cup, but first, I suppose,
proper start,
if you like. Yeah. And I think he kind of went up in my estimations. I thought we'd have a good player. I trust the recruitment team. And not going to pretend we knew a huge amount about the guy before he came in. So he was really intriguing, wasn't he? And then he came into his own on Tuesday with all the eyes on him. And he was absolutely brilliant to come on against Peterborough and look so dominant and comfortable for a few minutes, albeit against a beaten Peterborough team at that point. Yeah, I think we've got a bit of a battle for that midfield at the moment. I know Bayliss and McGrandles have been the partnership so far this season, but wouldn't surprise me to see Ivan getting a few starts in the not too distant future. Not because the other two have done anything wrong, but because he deserves to be in the team as well. Clearly on his little performance it seems so far. But just quickly on Peterborough, because I like to think we're generally quite respectful to opposition, aren't we, on this podcast?
Mostly,
but but Peterborough have always felt like the bullies. They've always been the ones that have nicked our manager or nicked our best players, or they've been the team that we've almost aspired to be like for such a long time. And it was so nice just to stick one on. It really was. And they gave up after they missed that chance at 2-0. They looked like they'd just given up. They had no desire to really push forward. Obviously, you want to credit us in terms of stopping them starting their attacks. But yeah, they just looked devoid of ideas, devoid of confidence. And yeah, you're right. It was only a matter of time that it was going to be 3 because we were so in control. Ever since they missed that opportunity just after we scored our second, it was pure domination from us. So yeah, it was 3. Could have been 4, could have been 5, to be honest, which may have flattered us over the period of the 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But it certainly wouldn't have flattered us in the last half an hour or so with how Peterborough had, just looked so lacking in confidence and desire and belief, really. And that plays into our hands, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think we were... I think we were more than enough value for the win yesterday. So we will wrap up with that game. Great to get the monkey off our backs. And as you said earlier, I think this feels almost like a bit of an inflection point of Peterborough have been going this way, we've been going this way, and then all of a sudden, is it just starting to turn now where we're maybe... You did say about, we're on a different trajectory to them. I think we're maybe starting to turn the corner and in a few years, maybe they'll be looking up at us going, why can't we do what Lincoln do? I don't know. I think that's probably overly optimistic, given I think probably just the week that we've had and where the club's at the moment. But right now it feels a bit like it, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it does. And hey, I'm not expecting the form to be quite as good as it started out for these first 10 games for the rest of the season. I think it's difficult for any team to maintain like our points per game at the moment is like title winning numbers. So that's I don't think we're there, but do I think we're on the right path? Am I maybe reevaluating my prediction of us finishing 11th? Yeah, maybe just a little bit.
Well, let's talk about that, because as I say, the subtitle for the podcast on YouTube tonight is the 10-game rule. The 10-game rule is that you don't look at the table and you don't think about the table until you're 10 games in. And then you get a rough idea of where we might be at the end of the season. Now, to try and stay balanced, I'm now thinking, do we need to extend the 10-game rule to probably 15 games? Because we've got a couple of decent ones, got a couple of big games coming up. We're playing the only 2 teams that are above us in the table in the next few weeks. 2 teams that I am genuinely shocked are there, by the way. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of other teams saying that about us. But, Velocity actually had this question, which I am trying to find in the chat. But are we going for it this year? I know it's still early, but are we going for it? Like, it just feels like there's so much behind us at the minute, and I've said this a few times on the podcast, and I know Gary mentioned it in an article today and on social. It just feels like there's a lot of the Keith era about this side at the moment, where they're trying to be more than the sum of their parts. And I think I actually said this in the Discord the other day. Back then, our parts were non-league players, formerly non-professional players that were coming up, getting the first professional contract. They were, just gathered from wherever they could to form a football club or football team that made it to the playoffs. Now we've got legitimately very good footballers for this level. And if we want to be more than the sum of our parts, when the parts are that good, how good can the final product be? It scares me a little bit, if I'm honest with you, Chris.
I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's head versus heart. Because heart is, well, let's just get carried away because it's fun. Like we're not going to experience this very often. It's great fun. We are good, and we're getting good results. We're even getting results when we're not playing too well, like the Mansfield and Wigan game. Probably, like on paper, we maybe deserve to lose one of those 2 games, but we didn't. And it's a sign of a good team that doesn't lose when they're playing poorly. So that's good. And hey, we're football fans. And Michael mentioned this in, I don't think it was this match's press conference, but one of them recently saying, look, it's the fans' jobs to get carried away. It's the fans' jobs to get excited and hope and dream. And then he said the cliche thing of we focus on one game at a time, which he has to say. And he's right, though, isn't it? He's right in that, of course, we can get carried away. That's exactly what we're. If we can't enjoy when we're good, what the hell's the point? However, I think we have to add some balance to this if we're going to be legitimate in terms of analysis here. We've had a great start to the season, but also, do you honestly believe that the top three in League One, when the season finishes, is going to be Bradford, Stevenage, and Lincoln? No, obviously not. And we saw this a little bit last season. Obviously, Birmingham ran away with it, but there was a few bigger clubs that started slowly. Charlton being probably the biggest, the biggest of those, ultimately getting promoted. That had the bigger budgets, that started a bit slowly, had quite a bit of squad churn, and then gradually as the season progressed, they found a bit of form, and then they get going. So I do expect those bigger teams that have started slowly to get better and to pick up more points. But honestly, do I now think that we are a genuine contender for a playoff spot? I think you can't ignore us now for that. Whereas before pre-season, maybe a little bit of pessimism, but I thought we'd be a perfectly comfortable mid-table side. We might have had a flirt, looking at what I thought would always be like 9th or 10th, maybe being 5 or 6 points behind the playoffs, and then a couple of good results towards the end of the season. Maybe we've got a chance. I think we're a notch above that now, personally. And I think we're starting games really well. Like, you're not going to do that every game, but it's a great trait to have. We're not going to be ahead for as often as we have been so far, but it's a great trait to have. But as you perfectly put it, we're greater than some of our parts, and they're pretty good parts already. We're so hard to play against. We're difficult to beat. That's pretty good. And as a foundation to build from, it's pretty good. So everyone else is probably going to get better throughout the season, but why can't we get better than we are now? We're better now than we were in the first game of the season. The last 3 matches prove that. So
I think we've got
it's a good time.
Absolutely, we've got the squad to do it as well. I think we've got the depth in the squad to bump up on that. Right, we will go on to briefly look at the midweek game, but before I do, there was a very important stats question for you, Chris, from the Discord.
Oh, was there?
It says how many points are we winning the league by?
Oh yes, I remember that. I did actually reply to that. I think I said I'll get back to you.
And there was one that I just very, very, very quickly wanted to talk about. Steve asked in the Discord, he said, Skubala talks about changing the shape during the game. How do we think he gets that message out to players without the opposition hearing the changes? And I said, I like to think we use code words.
There will probably be, I can't talk, I can't say the word probably. There we go. There will probably be an element of that. Normally, it'll just be a case of a couple of players coming over to the manager and then passing the message around. Sometimes it's obvious and it will maybe not necessarily planned, but in that if we need to make a tactical change, this is what we'll probably change to. So most people are probably going to be aware of it. For example, on Saturday, I imagine when Hamer and Towler both came on, it was pretty obvious to everyone on the pitch who was going to be slotting in where. But I think it's great. It's great that we've now got that flexibility. And we mentioned it earlier in the podcast. And that links into squad depth to be able to do it. And maybe when we've never had the squad depth, we haven't missed it. Like, you don't know, you don't miss what you never had. And now we've got it. We realise quite how much of a benefit it is to have that. And there's a lot of things going very well right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just really like the idea of Michael Skubala being sat on the touchline, and then him going, "Damn it, they're getting back into this one," and then just turning to the pitch and just going, "The Red Sparrow flies at midnight. The Red Sparrow flies at midnight," and then everyone just shifts to like a 3-5-2. Just really like that idea. So yeah, any ideas for code words for formation shifts? Just let us know. I think there was a couple around. Lincolnshire themed and RAF themed. I think some person said in the Discord they've gone 2 up top. AWACS, which I thought was very good. So right, obviously Tuesday night we play United's kids. You can't preview these games. It's very difficult to do so. But do we think we'll see wholesale changes on Tuesday night, Chris?
This is probably quite a difficult decision for Mr. Skubala, because I think it would have been a physically taxing 3 matches, just over a week, 8 days, where a good few players have played a lot of football. So you'd like, if you're him, you probably think, let's give everyone in that that's played the majority of those minutes a complete rest. Theoretically, we could make pretty much 11 changes in this game and still put out a competitive squad. However, it's also a competition that we'd quite like to do well in. We can make some money from it. Club takes all of the cups seriously. And then if you win this, you can then rotate the whole team against Barnsley. It doesn't really matter in the next round because we're already through at that point. Honestly, what would I do? I'd change everyone. As much as I actually am a fan of this competition, but I'm a fan because I like it as an opportunity to give the players that don't get minutes, it gives them a chance to have them. I want to rest everyone. Like we can take the league super, super, super seriously this season. I think the start we've made gives us such an opportunity. I'd just try and have every little benefit you can, every little advantage you can to win on Saturday against Exeter and get another 3 points in the league. And if that means resting 11 players on Tuesday, then so be it. I don't think he'll do that. I think that would be seen as disrespectful, maybe by Michael. Who knows? But I would not be against 11 changes because we've got 11 quality players that can still fit in. We've yet to see Dexter Lane Bakisa play. He hasn't been on the bench yet. We don't even know what squad number he's got. So, it'd be nice to see some of the players that haven't had a lot of minutes, but it's impossible to call.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's one where you look at those that, whether they came on Saturday or whether they lined the bench. I'd almost expect them to start. Probably Lewis Montsma back in, and then we'll see what happens. But
just quickly on the way home from Peterborough, we were naming if we did make 11 changes, who would play where, and I think we pretty much got there because we've got obviously Chico can goal, Towler could play left back or centre back. You've got Hamer that could come in. Of course, he hasn't started the last 2 league games. Montsma, of course. We've got Lembakis, who we haven't seen. Barbrook played in the last one. Eric Ring's in there. Obviously, you've got Ivan in there. You've got Oscar Thorne. You've got Abikwu. We've got Okoronkwo. I'm sure I've forgotten someone as well. And that's 11 already. Eric Ring. That's 11, 12 already, isn't it? So like we could literally change pretty much the whole team.
It is just nice, but look, it's going to be. It'll be an interesting team sheet on Tuesday for sure. And then, we will. I think it might be me and Charlie on Wednesday, or it might be me and Emily. I'm not sure, but it will be me on Wednesday to discuss that game and then preview the Exeter game because, of course, back to league action at the Bank next Saturday. So, I think that's probably about it in terms of footballing action from us this week. But obviously, there's one thing that's been popping up quite a lot in the comments as we've been going on, as some of you will doubtless have seen on social media. We lost a member of the Stacey West family today. Very sadly, unfortunately, Gary's dad passed away this morning after a short battle with illness. It goes without saying that we're all thinking of Gary and the family at the moment. It's an awful time for him. He's asked everybody to save any stories until the time's right, so that's what we're going to do. But Pete became a good friend, and he was honestly one of the most genuine people that you could ever hope to meet.
Absolutely.
I think it's fair to say that we're going to miss him terribly. And all the love to Gary, Fee, and everybody. If you wanted to add anything on that one, Chris?
I would love to have something to add as eloquent as that, mate, but I'm just going to second everything you've said.
Yeah, so, it sucks. There's a lot more that we can say. Some of it will probably get us demonetized on YouTube. Not that we actually monetize the podcast on YouTube anyway, but we will miss you massively, Pete. And normally we wrap up the podcast by saying the same thing every week, but I think it only seems fair today that we just say thank you. So we'll end the podcast and say thank you, Pete.
Cheers, Pete.